Hey, I'm Dr. McCleary and I make mental health videos for veterans. In this video, I'm going to talk about the PTSD trap that's so easy to fall into, called avoidance. One of the most common things to do after something painful, like a trauma, is to do everything in your power not to let that ever happen again. So what many people do is they list all the things that trigger them. Whatever smells like, looks like, tastes like, sounds like the trauma, they stay away from. On the surface, makes perfect sense. Why would you want to go through something like your trauma ever again? Of course that makes sense. Here's where people go wrong. People end up doing this to such a degree that they structure their life around avoiding things that remind them of their trauma. And this just isn't things. Most people point to the crowds or the being around people or certain types of environments, but it's more than that. A lot of people avoid emotions. They avoid thoughts. And the longer we deal with and the longer we avoid talking about or processing what actually happened, the more complex our avoidance techniques actually get. In my career, I worked with largely two different types of populations. One, active duty military, and two, veterans. And while there's obviously a lot of similarities between these two groups, one actually turns into the other many times, there's a lot of differences as well. In working with people that have experienced trauma, one of the main differences that I see is with active duty folks, often the trauma was more recent. It didn't happen 40 years ago like it did with some of the veterans that I've seen. So the longer that you deal with PTSD, the longer that you deal with unprocessed thoughts and emotions related to your trauma, the more complex your avoidance techniques get. So on one hand, you have somebody that's been avoiding maybe only for a few months. Okay. On the other hand, you have somebody that's been avoiding for a few decades. And truth be told, they're better at it. You can actually become so good at avoiding that you don't even know you're doing it anymore. Here's an example. Some people have avoided crowds for so long, they've actually convinced themselves, or maybe they've even adopted a personality that actually doesn't like crowds. Oh, I don't like going to concerts. I don't like going to parties. I don't like all of these type of things. And it may actually be a lot more complicated than that. It's not that they don't like parties. It's that they don't like being triggered during a party. It's not that they don't like going to a Beyonce concert. It's that there's too many people around. There's too loud of music. I can't track everybody. There's going to be people behind me. I can't be in that type of environment. And that can't is something that we need to look at. Because what PTSD can do, if you're not careful, is it can take your choices away. It can take your choices away to the point that you don't even know what you like to do anymore. You don't know what's enjoyable for you. You only know what you feel like you can do. And if that's happening for you, maybe you need to take a closer look at how your trauma is running your life. In my profession, sometimes I have to give people some hard truths. And one of the hard truths that I have to give people oftentimes is that you'll never forget the trauma that happened to you. I don't have a Harry Potter wand that I can just take somebody's horrific memories away. I wish I did. I truly do. But forgetting about what happened to you is one, a fallacy, and two, never the goal of PTSD treatment. Really, part of the goal of PTSD treatment is not to forget about it, but to unleash or loosen that hold that memory, that experience has on your life. Because if you're not careful, that memory, that trauma can pull you into a trap that dictates your day-to-day. Avoidance might seem like it's helpful, and I'll be honest with you. Avoiding things is part of our human nature. We touch a stove, it's hot. You know what? We say, hey, we're not going to touch that stove anymore. But it's a whole nother thing when you decide, I'm not going to cook anymore. I'm not going to go to the kitchen anymore. Now we have a bigger problem, because the more that we avoid, the smaller and smaller our world gets. And before we know it, that trauma, that memory is saying no to all types of things all the time. Oh, we can't go over there. Oh, we can't be in that type of situation. Oh, I can't be in those type of relationships. All the time, that trauma is making the decisions, making those decisions for you. And part of treatment is giving you your choices back. Something to think about. If this video was helpful for you, and I hope that it was, please like it. Subscribe to my channel if you want to learn more about veteran culture or mental health. But more important than that, if this video was helpful for you, that means it can probably be helpful for another veteran. So I ask that you share it with them. Because at the end of the day, that's really what all this is about. One veteran trying to help another.